Hey there, it's Faris here. I wanted to come to you really quickly on today. If you have been up under a rock for the last few weeks, I know you've probably seen Dave Chappelle trending up and down your timeline or checking him out on YouTube or on different blogs and everything. He has recently came out with a new Netflix show called Sticks and Stones, a new Netflix stand-up called Sticks and Stones. And this is said to be one of his last stand-up special that he's going to do with Netflix, but it's been very controversial, and I want to go through and actually give you a different perspective on the show. So I'm not going to go through in this video dissecting the type of jokes he's having or the audience he may offend or may not have offended. I'm going to go through and actually list 10 different lessons that entrepreneurs should learn from watching Sticks and Stones from Dave Chappelle. So stick around and catch out these 10 tips. Okay, so we're back. So, of course, Dave Chappelle, all-time iconic comedian, has done it again. He's actually trending again. He always comes out of nowhere and he hits you right in the jugular every time he comes. But these are the lessons that entrepreneurs, we must learn from Dave Chappelle. So the first lesson that I pulled from actually watching Sticks and Stones, and of course, I've gotten a chance to go to the live. My wife actually surprised me with 2 tickets to go to the live taping down here in Atlanta. I watched it numerous times when it hit the Netflix and just did a lot of research behind, because Dave Chappelle is an iconic comedian. But what he does, he's really good at timing, and he's very thought-provoking in everything, regardless if you think it catches him by surprise via the controversy or not, it doesn't. And I want to go through and actually break down 10 different things that we can learn as entrepreneurs. And the first thing, I have my notes here as well. The first thing I want to go through and bring up is Dave Chappelle. He always reflect on past experiences and create a product, and he created this product around it. So as entrepreneurs, we must reflect on past experiences and create our products around those past experiences. So Dave Chappelle has been a student of his craft for many years. Before he was old enough to actually go into a comedy club, he was a student of the craft. He studied the greats, such as Bill Cosby, such as Eddie Murphy. He studied these greats because he wanted to go through and actually be where they were as well. Not like Bill Cosby, where he is right now, but where he was in the 90s and early 2000s. But my thing is, he wanted to go through and study the greats and actually emulate those greats as well. So he was a student of the craft. And that's one thing as entrepreneurs, we must remain a humble student of the craft. So regardless of what industry you're in, you can be in the baking industry, the car washing industry, the healthcare industry, the barber's industry, you must remain a student of the craft as well. His material is based on his past experience as he see the world. And that's my thing is, as entrepreneurs, you do not have to go through and replicate products that you've seen over and over and over again. When you taste that cookie, you taste something different. You taste a different ingredient. And that may be something that you can pull out to go through and actually base your product around. Or when you go through and actually cut that hair, you know the experience that you want to go through and give your customers. So you may have gotten a great haircut, but my thing is, you know the experience that you want to give your customers. So based off how you see the product or how you see the world, that's how you can go through and shape your product as well. And his product is comedy, which leads me to the next lesson is you must know your audience. You must know your audience. As an entrepreneur, you must know your audience and understand your audience. Your audience will become your paying customers, but you must go through and earn your audience. And let's go through and talk about ways to go through and earn your audience. Earning your audience is not going to trying to sell them. It's about going through and producing value. It's about getting where they are, understanding where they are during your process of studying, being that student, understanding the things that they may need and going through and satisfying their needs as well. For those who follow Dave Chappelle, we know that he's a satirist. We know that he has witty humor. We know that he's going to probably offend a few people, but he knows that. He knows his audience. And in knowing your audience, you will know what to deliver to them. He knows that he knows that his audience will not, even though they may get offended, but they're thin, their skin is kind of thick. They're not going to go through and just say, well, hey, Dave Chappelle said this, I'm out of here, I'm offended. He's an equal opportunist. He'll offend no matter whatever racial, gender, whatever your ethnicity, your set, or whatever. He's an equal opportunist. But my thing is, he knew that by actually being a student of his craft, studying his audience, and being able to deliver as well. And so let's talk about as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, it's extremely important for you to know your audience. What are the things that you're trying to sell for them? So let's talk about, for example, a barbershop. In knowing your audience, if I'm a bald head guy with, let's say if I had no hair in my face, nothing, I had no hair at all, though you may enjoy having a conversation with me, or we may have some great conversations, I may not be your audience because I don't have hair to cut. If I didn't have any hair on my face, I would have nothing for you to cut. So instead of fishing in the wrong pond, you want to know your audience and be able to go through and conversate with your audience. Get a chance to know, get a chance to allow them to know, like, and trust you. Get a chance to go through and see what their needs are. So if I'm a bald head guy, let's say if I did have hair on my face, how do I feel about the hair on my face? Do I want to grow my hair out? Do I want to go through and get my beard shaped? Hey, you will be able to go through and actually have those discussions with individuals that you know, that you studied as well. So it's very important for you to know your audience. Number 3 is to never forget that you are a student. You probably heard me say student, 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 study, student, student, student. Never forget that you are a student. No matter how long or how far along you've been in business or along your process of entrepreneurship, never forget that you are a student. Dave Chappelle, he spent countless hours. If you go through and look on the Netflix special, they have an extended version. And he talks about how he went through and developed the content inside different comedy clubs, I think in California, but different comedy clubs where he was able to practice the content, practice delivery, practice to go through and see what jokes fell really strong, which ones fell on the ground, and he kind of just pushed to the side. But he was a student. And that's one thing as entrepreneurs, we cannot get so big and high and mighty to the point where we're saying, you know what, hey, forget it. I'll just kind of lights, camera, action, let's go and everything. You have to do your research, have to do your due diligence. You have to continuously be a student of your craft to go through and actually perfect your craft as well. So a few takeaway lessons for entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how much success you have, especially for those that are endeavoring on actually starting multiple businesses. You must be a student. So let's say if you were great in the healthcare industry, but you're deciding to go into the trucking industry. You must be a student. You have to understand everything that it takes to be a truck driver. You have to understand the different walks of life that it takes for that entrepreneur to go through and build that trucking company up. You can't just say, you know what, hey, I was successful in this industry and I'm going to be successful in that industry. You must be a student. You must do your due diligence. The devil's in the details. I heard that saying many times, the devil's in the details. And that's one thing that I know in my past experience, without doing the due diligence and research, those one of the things that tripped me up in my past business experience as well. But you must be a student. You must be a fervent student that's going to go through and put those hours in to understand that business, understand that craft, to go through and take it to the next level. All right, so number 4 is don't be afraid to go against the grain. I know many entrepreneurs, they're afraid to go through and step outside of their comfort zone. They're afraid to go through and go against the grain. And what I mean by going against the grain, so many industries have their industry norms where, hey, some industry norms is like, okay, well, hey, I'm going to wait for customers to come to me so I won't market, because marketing seems kind of pushy. So that's their industry norm. So they're afraid to go against the grain, because if they step out and try to start marketing, their other cohorts are going to say, well, hold up, man, you're doing too much, or hey, that's not how it normally is done as well. So you must not be afraid to go against the grain. And as you can see, Dave Chappelle is not afraid to go against the grain. He goes out and push buttons. He goes to make you think. He'll go through and probably make you mad or pissed off about it, but he's not afraid to go against the grain. And I think so many times, many parents, they go through and instill that fear within their children, go through and say, hey, baby, don't do that because you may fail, or hey, I wouldn't try that, or hey, go ahead and have more than one egg in your basket just in case this fall. It's that fear mentality that goes through and prohibits entrepreneurs from going through and stepping out of the box to going through and creating something great. So you cannot be afraid to go against the grain. I want you to notice one thing. Dave Chappelle, he continues to go against the grain. I mean, in everything that he's done since the Chappelle show, it's all about going against the grain. I remember his last special when he talked about O.J. Simpson. He talks about everything, and he continues to go against the grain. And because that's the part where people are uncomfortable. These are things that people think about, but they don't say. But he has the wit and the galls to go through and actually say it. And that's one thing as entrepreneurs, we have to go through and be willing to go through and say, I'm going to step out this comfort zone. Hey, if that means, hey, everybody else is having black uniforms and I want to bust out with a nice yellow, bright uniform, hey, that's what you have to do. Or if that means, hey, everyone else just put words on billboards, but I'm going to go through and put my face on this billboard or on my Facebook advertisement, that's what you have to do. Or if you have to go through and make a video, do something that totally makes you feel uncomfortable or against the grain, go through and do it, because that's where your success lies, is when you are willing to go against the grain. All right, next, let's talk about positioning. If you've seen the Netflix special Sticks and Stones, positioning is everything. Guys, nothing happened on that particular series or that particular show without intention. Where the cameras were placed, the angles where the cameras were placed. So positioning is everything. Dave, he knew where he was going to stand. He knew what he was going to say. He knew where to look. He knew when. Everything had intentionality behind it. So everything is positioned. I'm going to go through, and I think it's number 8 or number 9, where I'm going to go through and talk about the branding part of it. But everything had a particular position. And you have to go through and think about that in your business as well. As entrepreneurs, have you thought about positioning? Have you thought about where your logo is going to be on your shirt? Have you thought about when people open the door, the fragrance that they're going to smell when they enter your particular business? Have you thought about the greetings that people are going to go through and have when they actually experience a phone call from you? You have to think about positioning everything. If grandma's the meaning behind your business, have you thought about the placement of grandma's picture in your cookie shop? You have to go through and think about everything. Positioning is important. Positioning is important. And the next, I'm going to go over the kind of the method today's madness, the flow of it. As you realize, he paces himself. This is number 8. I'm sorry, number 6. Dave, he paces himself. He paces himself when it comes to his flow. He waits for it. He waits for it. He knows how to go through and articulate it. And this did not come just overnight. This did not come overnight. That skill set did not come overnight. It took a lot of practice. It took a lot of fumbles. It took a lot of mess ups for him to go through and get his flow. And that's the same thing as entrepreneurs. You're going to eventually walk in your flow. You're going to eventually walk in your comfort zone. What's uncomfortable today is going to be eventually comfortable for you tomorrow, but you have to go through the flow of it to understand or to develop the flow that will be comfortable for you on tomorrow. This is one of my big ones right here. Number 7, smile because you're on camera. If you notice Dave Chappelle on this Netflix series, he smiles a lot. He smiles a lot because guess what he wants you to do? He wants you to smile because he knows that it's reciprocated. If he goes on stage all mad and just kind of blah face, I guarantee the response of the audience will be similar to that as well. But he smiles a lot. He goes through and actually have a conversation with the audience, even though it's a monologue, even though he's actually out there just spewing out jokes. He'll say the joke, and knowing subconsciously or consciously, we're going to go through and actually respond. We're going to go through and kind of nod our head and say, you know what, he's right. Or we're going to go through and say, dang, that dude's crazy. Or we're just going to go through and burst out in laughter. Smiling actually helps out a lot. So make sure you know that, hey, as an entrepreneur, you have to smile. I can see if you work in the prison industry and even with that, you still have to win friends and influence people. So my thing is a smile will not hurt you. I see this in a lot of small businesses. A lot of small businesses, they don't work on the customer service part. They don't work on the smile. They don't work on that greeting. But a smile can go through and win people over. A smile can go through and actually increase the odds of selling as well. So make sure that you or your team is actually smiling as well. Because remember, it's always lights, camera, action. Someone is always looking at you. So just like Dave Chappelle did on this series, smile. All right. And so number 8 is you must have a conversation with the audience. And that's something I think I kind of alluded to in number 7 as well. I don't know if you noticed, but a conversation was going on throughout the whole, even though it was a monologue, it still felt like a dialogue. A conversation was going on throughout the entire bit. And when he went out on stage, even when he walked out in his presence, and just when people were going through and clapping, just celebrating him being there, that's when the conversation initiated. When he first said his first words, the conversation initiated. Because again, when he tells a joke, he's looking for an individual to go through and respond. When he says something, he's looking for an audible response or a subconscious response, and that's what he got. And as entrepreneurs, we must realize that in everything that we do, we're actually having a conversation with our audience. So regardless if we're putting a billboard out on a side street, it should start a conversation. Whatever the messaging is, it should start that conversation. It should invoke someone to react or act in a manner that you want them to go through. Regardless if you have a pamphlet or postcards, whatever, these are conversation starters. Regardless if people are out there on the streets and you're not even talking about your business, but you're shaking hands and kissing babies, that's a conversation starter. You must realize that everything that you do, it is a conversation starter. And you must go through and take advantage of that conversation by knowing the path that you want to take that individual on. And I know in marketing, and when I looked at Dave Chappelle's show, I thought about it as a big sales letter. You may be saying, what's a sales letter? A sales letter is pretty much it's a marketing tool to go through and get a person from point A to point B. So if point A is right here and you want to get them to the sale, that's one thing that you're getting through. And getting through words or getting through a sales letter, sales video, whatever. I'm not going to go into that per se, but my thing is getting them from point A to point B. And that's one thing when I was listening to Dave Chappelle's special, I was like, oh man, this is just a really great sales letter. And because he brought people on board, he wanted to go through and carry the conversation. He went from the start to the end, and he ended intentionally as well, because that's how he wanted the conversation to continue as well. So my thing is, you have to have a conversation with your audience. And number 9, let's talk about number 9. Branding is key. If you watch the video, you probably seen the Chappelle name tape on his what he has, big green jumper suit. The Chappelle, you may have seen the big C's on his shoulders as well. If you looked at the stage, you probably saw the big C as well. But his brand was everywhere. His brand was everywhere. In every angle that the camera took, his brand was there. And that's one thing, is branding is key. We already know his brand is how he delivers with his comedy, but I'm more so talking about his imaging. His image is there, so now people can go through and continuously think about, when they think about Chappelle, when a person brings up Chappelle, they don't think about their next door neighbor named Johnny Chappelle. They think about Dave Chappelle. And that's one thing that he wants to go through and put in people's mind is, this is Chappelle. This is Chappelle. This is the standard of comedy that you should be used to, is the Chappelle standard of comedy. So wherever the camera was, you probably saw that Chappelle logo or brand on there. So let's talk about that. That's the same thing as entrepreneurs. You must go through and think about your branding as well. Your brand, of course, is the product and how you deliver it and the quality, etc. But let's talk about some of the imaging of your brand as well. Are your logos consistent, for one thing? Or do you have 15,000 different logos? Are your colors for your business consistent? So when people think of your business, when a person hears your business name, can they see the image? If they can't, that's something you're building towards. You're trying to build towards a brand where, just like McDonald's, when you see the M, you're like, or the arches they call them. Of course, you only think about McDonald's. When you go through and see the C, you want to just only think about Chappelle. So when you're thinking about your brand, what you place your brand on, whether it's be postcards, T-shirts, flyers, mailers, or whatever it is, you want to go through and make sure your brand is consistent so that it can be memorable as well. And let's talk about the last one. Number 10 is to finish strong. Dave went out there, he kind of reminded me of like Mike Tyson. He was going out there just punching and punching and punching and punching and punching. He went out there with the fight in mind. I know he seems like a really laid back type guy where he's kind of giving these jokes and everything, but he was very meticulous. I could tell he's very serious about his craft, because he just didn't go out and just throw out BS. He was serious about his craft. He studied his craft. He made sure that he was a student. He made sure he delivered. He made sure the cameras were right. He made sure the branding was right. He made sure he had a conversation with us throughout the whole encounter. But also, he finished strong. And when I say he finished strong, at the live show, he announced that this was going to be his last Netflix series or Netflix special. He says he's going into retirement. I don't believe that, but that's what he says, going into retirement. But my thing is, he finished strong, and finishing strong means wading the waters or ruffling the feathers to the point where, hey, he don't have to go out and put a lot of marketing dollars out there, because guess what? People are going to talk. Controversy talks. I mean, good or bad, people are going to talk. People are going to be inquisitive enough to go through and actually see this just because people are talking about it on the blog, just because the news is talking about it. There are even conservative or liberal news stations that are picking up this story just because people are talking about it. And that's how you go through and finish strong, because he knows that just because people are talking about it, they're going to go through and log on. They're going to get a subscription to Netflix. They're going to go on YouTube. They're going to go through and search for this series, and they're going to go through and look for it. And they're going to have a conversation. They're going to have a conversation with their family members. They're going to have a conversation on the blogs. They're going to have a conversation with coworkers, and these coworkers are going to go through and see it. And that's what he's doing. He's finishing strong because I believe he's preparing for something even bigger than this right here. Guys, he is not dumb. Dave Chappelle is not dumb, and neither are you as an entrepreneur. You have to understand that whatever you do must be done with intention. Whatever you do you must go through these 10 steps and include those in there, but you also must finish strong to begin the new encounter or the new endeavor strong as well. So I'm super excited about it. If you have not actually seen the Sticks and Stones Netflix show, go through and take a look at it. I want you to go through and comment below on this video as well. Just let me know what you thought about it. What's some takeaways that you actually took away after you watched the video. I want you to come back to this video and after you watch the show, come back to this video and let me know some of the things that you took away from it on the entrepreneur's level. I know you're going to laugh, we're going to cut up, we're going to all that stuff right there, but I want to know as an entrepreneur, what's some things that you took away from this as well. So again, my name is Faris. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I want you to like and subscribe. Follow me on all social media channels, and definitely come back and look forward for more videos in regards to entrepreneurship. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.